Hi, this is Andri Bester, and you're joining me on This Is What We Were Told. Today I'd like to introduce you to myself and to the kind of topics I will be covering on this channel. I'm calling this channel This Is What We Were Told. In 2020, I self-published a book with this same title. In the printed version of This Is What We Were Told, I argue why a lot of things we read about in the Bible, and probably also in other God books, cannot be accepted at face value as truth. I was very deliberate and maybe a bit facetious in calling my book This Is What We Were Told. A lot of Christians read the Bible without paying proper attention to what it is they're reading. It's as if they're mechanically ingesting the information without allowing their minds to really taste or analyze and comprehend what they're reading. My aim is to raise readers' awareness of the countless perversions that end up sneaking past our common sense and better judgment in this way. I unpack the full implications of these seemingly innocent stories in a way that compels the reader to conclude, wow, now this is an unexpected angle that I didn't even consider. I'm challenging readers to really listen to what it is that they're reading. That is why I call this book, This Is What We Were Told. I also call this channel, This Is What We Were Told, because I'd like to use this as a platform to give viewers a taste of what I cover in my book. I'd also like to use this platform to give some exposure to the lies and deception that so many preachers, prophets, apostles, and whatever other religious title dish up to innocent and ignorant people. Okay, so here's a bit more about myself. I was born in 1969 in the city of Pretoria, the administrative capital of South Africa. I'm the eldest of 4 siblings, with a sister and 2 brothers living in other parts of South Africa. As a young family, we weren't particularly well off, but we never suffered any lack or hardship. Our parents provided in all our needs as best they could, and we were truly happy and carefree. I went to school in Pretoria, and after finishing school, I studied law at the local university. Having completed my law studies, I had to complete 1 year of compulsory military service, which was still a legal requirement for all white South African males at the time. After initially starting my career as an attorney, I became more interested in the field of expertise where financial services and the law met one another. Since 2000, I've been living in Cape Town, South Africa, with my wife and son, where I ply my trade as a compliance officer in the financial services industry. I have a diverging range of interests and passions, but most of them somehow tie into nature, the earth, and the universe. I'm deeply interested in science, and as far as my religious beliefs are concerned, I am passionately agnostic. So why would a person who is agnostic and who cares about the cold, hard facts busy himself with the spiritual realm, and more specifically the Bible? Well, for a start, because there was a time when I counted myself a deeply devoted follower of Jesus Christ. Added to that, I grew up in a home where the Bible and the God of the Bible were central to the values we were taught. My entire frame of reference was based on the Christian faith. But then, over a period of time, a few things happened in my life that forced me to sit down and carefully take stock of what it was that I knew and what it was that I believed. This process allowed me some critically important insights into the wonder and joy of life. However, it also showed me that faith and religion were lenses that could severely obscure and distort one's view of the world and of the life we're living. I appreciate that there will be people who would like to immediately take me on about this remark. As I continue with these talks, I hope to gradually show you in detail why faith and religion were not helpful in my case. Before I go any further, there are a couple of things I'd like to clarify for you. This is going to provide important context for all the talks that follow this one. Firstly, my frame of reference is the Christian faith and its God book, the Bible. That's what I grew up with. I have a pretty good knowledge of the content of the Bible and I continue studying it. I do not have detailed knowledge of the other religions of the world, but I am confident that the principles I share on this channel will be equally applicable to those religions. Secondly, although it might seem like it, my aim is really not to condemn faith or religious thinking as wrong or undesirable. On the contrary, I'm convinced that there are instances where faith and religion have a useful role to play. I've seen numerous people who have found themselves on a dangerous path of self-destruction through crime or addiction, and who then had a significant religious experience that radically changed them and placed them on a path of cleansing, growth, and self-fulfillment. Without the profoundly emotional appeal of faith and religion, such a radical change might not have been sparked. I do not have any interest in trying to convince people that faith and religion are wrong. If your faith and religion bring you happiness and fulfillment and is uplifting and inspirational to those around you, then that's awesome. Don't change it. Then this channel might possibly not be for you. All that this channel really is saying is just that in some people's minds, like mine, there is a yearning and a profound longing to learn and discover beyond the limitations of faith and religion. I found that there are other deeper, richer, and more fulfilling ways in which to explore and be awestruck by the sheer wonder of life. Thirdly, the fact that I am an agnostic does not make me an atheist or a Satanist or whatever. In fact, there is a big difference between being an atheist and being an agnostic. Atheism is an expression of final conviction. Agnosticism, on the other hand, is an expression of skepticism. Let me explain by way of example. Atheism says there is no God. Agnosticism says, I'm not convinced that there is a God, but I am willing to consider compelling evidence. Agnosticism says there might be a God, but we have not yet had a face-to-face, person-to-person encounter with him or her or it. Therefore, we can't say for sure whether or not such a God exists, but we welcome any factual evidence. Agnosticism still allows room to be convinced of the existence of a God. I'm not at the point where I can say with conviction that there is no God. Therefore, I cannot say that I'm an atheist, and I would be uncomfortable with being assigned that label. At the same time, I'm also definitely not some kind of Satanist. As a matter of fact, as I'll be showing later on during one of my talks, I do not believe in the existence of Satan or the devil or whatever you want to call it. At all. In my mind, any person who fancies him or herself to be a Satanist is on some power-hungry, attention-seeking pathetic, self-deluded flight of fancy. I'm open to be convinced of the merits of faith and religion, just as long as I am not expected to leave my natural sense of logic and factual truth at the entrance. So, what can viewers expect to hear me talk about on this channel? Well, hopefully quite a bit. Most of the topics I cover are also dealt with in my book, This Is What We Were Told. The following are some of the questions I intend to tackle. How did it happen that a devoted believer became a passionate agnostic? Why is it that there are so many differing belief systems? How do they develop and take hold? What are the origins of the biblical text that so many people take to be the final word on the history of life? What does science have to say about the origins of life? And how does this relate to the biblical story of creation? Is it true that there really was a massive worldwide flood that was survived by only 8 people and their ship full of animals? On this topic alone, I have quite a few talks to share. Is it true that the languages of the world have their origins in a supernatural event that took place in ancient history? What is the problem with the biblical concept of circumcision? What would happen if time could really come to a standstill, or even rewind? Is there perhaps something that we're missing regarding some of the major prophets of the Old Testament? What makes the story of the virgin birth truly remarkable? What is the problem with the devil? What is religion's preoccupation with sex all about? What exactly is sin? Why do Christians talk of a God of love when there is so much suffering in the world? I would also like to do a couple of talks in between on some of the evangelists, preachers, prophets, apostles, bishops, whatever other title it is that these people like to appropriate for themselves, that we see so often on television or the web. There's a whole gang of these people going around who are peddling their own deluded brand of religion under the banner of Christianity, and they draw the innocent and the ignorant like moths to a candle. It infuriates me no end to see how uninformed people fall for the trickery of these stage performers, and I'm making it my mission to draw people's attention to the traps they should be on the lookout for. So, you can expect to hear me talk about names such as Copeland, Womack, Winston, Roth, Kuhneman, Buchan, Bullock, Raybert, and the list goes on and on. A last few words before I wrap this talk. It really is not difficult to distinguish between the wheat and the chaff. It is all about taking things with the proverbial pinch of salt. Ask yourself, is what I'm hearing here consistent with factual knowledge of the world around me? If the answer is no, then you might quite possibly be dealing with a fabrication. Carefully weigh the words you're hearing before answering with Amen. Just because the pastor says, "Say amen to that," doesn't mean that he is talking the whole truth. It is okay to question things. It is okay to challenge issues of faith. At least it shows that it is important enough for you to really want to know. You do not have to accept every word spoken by a preacher or religious leader at face value. You do have the right to be skeptical about what is presented to you in the name of religion. Ultimately, you even have the right not to accept what I'm telling you here, After all, thinking for oneself based on factual reality is at the heart of my message. Next time, I'll start sharing with you how it happened that I changed from being a devoted Christian believer to a passionate agnostic. This is Andri Bester for This Is What We Were Told. If you're interested in a copy of my book, mail me at the address on the screen and I'll be in touch. Have a lovely day.